All right, I have just a few slides to go through to give you guys some background on kind of what we are, what we do. I'm assuming you know generally what we are if you're here, but it's always good to make sure that I go through the basics so that you can then get a baseline to go from, and then any questions you guys have thereafter, happy to go through it. My name is JB Woodruff. I'm the managing director here. I also act as the program director, so most accelerators you're going to see have kind of the managing director and the program director. I play both those roles. Abby Tober, who you've probably met, is our marketing and operations manager. So she makes sure that this place keeps running and clean and whips all of our entrepreneurs into shape if they get online. So we're going to do this.
That could be a big job.
She throws a heck of a party too. So if you're looking for a good party tonight, she's the right one. So I have some slides that I'll go through. We are the accelerator for B2B data-driven startups. So we do specialize in investing in B2B startups. If you're not a B2B startup, then we probably won't make an investment in you. Pretty much straight up. I'm happy to help point you in the right direction if you're not B2B, but I think some of the information is still relevant. And part of it is it's where great tech ideas grow to be investable. So our promise in terms of as a program is that we have a common goal in the companies we invest in, and that over the duration of our program is that you will become an investable company. That's what we set out to do. We set a common goal with all of our founders to be at that position. Now, what does that mean? Investable means that you are a rock-solid company. You have an amazing team. You have a product that provides meaningful solutions for your customers, and you can provide real value for them. That's everything. Investors won't care about anything else. They want to see that you have a good team and you're solving problems for your customers, because more than likely if you're solving problems for your customers, they're paying you to do so. Now the other side of that house is one in which we say investable is, the reality is with tech startups, you're more than likely to seek outside capital to be invested in you. Angel investors, VC, whatever you want to call it, end of the day, it's individuals giving you capital in return for you giving up equity. We prepare you for that as well. So that's part of that investable criteria. I would actually prefer, I say this day one of the program, I prefer that every founder hold on to as much equity as they can. If they don't have to go the capital route, great. But we know in our industry, in this high-tech, high-growth space, you're going to need it. So that's part of that investing piece. So there's three main things that we really provide beyond that investable piece. The first is that it's a promise of data-driven. We make sure that we instill in each of our founders the principles of making sure that you are a data-driven organization as a startup. It means that you are in a position to have all the knowledge and power to make informed decisions as you develop your business models. I don't want, I use the phrase, show me, don't tell me. So you need data to show me that your customers are saying this. You're building this feature because your customers want it, not because you think your customers want it. You're marketing via this channel because you have the data to back it up. So that's what the data-driven piece is all about in our program. Now there is something we look at in your company, and that's secondarily from a data-driven perspective, is we want to make sure that all of our B2B companies that we have in-house are enabling their customers to become data-driven as well. So not only are you data-driven as an organization, your solution enables your customers to be even more powerful with the data that you generate for them. The second thing is our program is pretty hands-on. You're gonna, if you don't like me, you will not like this program. I always say that to people, and everybody always smirks, but it's the truth. Because I spend a lot of time with every company. I'm very involved in the capacity of I meet with every team at least for 1 hour every week, individually, one-on-one. Oftentimes it's more than that, but that's the minimum that I will meet with every company throughout the program. Additionally, we do weekly education sessions. where I'm sitting there educating you for at least half a day on Friday. We always do Friday mornings as our time for education. We bring in a lot of outside people, so it's not just me doing all of this, but it's a lot of workshop-based, so hands-on practical knowledge. I try to limit the death by PowerPoint moments for you and throughout this program. It's all relevant to where you are in terms of the stage of your company, and those one-on-one sessions help augment any of those general sessions.
And those general sessions that are for the whole cohort.
Mm-hmm. So we do bring in a cohort of individuals, and they all attend those sessions. And then we have weekly team meetings to address any concerns you have, needs you have, and generally just to hang out. And the third piece of what most entrepreneurs are looking for is connections. And that comes in two ways. One is through the connections for customers that you need. I would say there's three things that every entrepreneur needs. They need capital, guidance, and they need connections. So every entrepreneur needs connection to potential customers who can give them feedback, can help them develop their product, and hopefully will become a customer who pays them. So we look at the types of startups we bring in are ones where we know we can help because we have connections in the region to those industries in which we can connect you with. If you're a type of company where it just doesn't make sense in Cincinnati from a connection with an enterprise, we won't bring you in. I always give an example of like a sports and entertainment business. There's not a whole lot of sports and entertainment industry players here. Probably wouldn't bring them through our program just because it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's the best example I can give. The other side of the connections is the investor side. We have some regional investors who come in throughout our program who work with you directly on your pitch and your business, so you're getting the investor's perspective. Now, yes, I play the role of an investor because we invest in startups, but we're talking about the next stage of folks who can give you a different perspective of what folks are looking for, so you're going to get that great connection into the community of investors to guide you through that process. Hopefully they'll end up being investors in your company, but that's not always the case. At least there's a connection there so they can introduce you to other folks, in addition to our connections that we have all across the country in terms of investors that we have. So those are the three main things you can kind of think about in terms of what you get beyond being the common goal of becoming an investable company after the program. So we bring in up to 10 startups. We have yet to hit the number 10. We are very discerning in terms of our investments. We want to make sure we're bringing in the best individuals and best ideas that we can help. But ideally, we want to get to 10. And then we have moved away. We're going to shorten our program a little bit this year. We're doing a 5-month program, not 6. Mainly, we're doing that with the intention strategically to run more programs than just one a year. That's kind of the cat out of the bag there. We'd love to run more than one program per year, so we have to shorten it a little bit. We've also got a lot of feedback from our founders that they loved 6 months, but it started feeling a little too long toward the end. They were kind of just, we had covered all the bases that we had. We still let people work out here even after the program, so even if we shorten it, we're still going to get the benefit of the space thereafter. Why is it called 4+1? The experience I've had in working in multiple accelerators and this one is that there can be a cliff effect if you go through a program and you have a demo day at the end. It's a big crescendo with a quick let off where you're like, whoa, the program's over. So the idea is we want to make sure our demo day happens and then we have a slow process so you transition out of the program and you don't fall flat on your face. That's the whole reason why we have that time after our demo day to help you guys out.
So it's 4 months to demo day.
4 months to demo day. So September, October, November, December, early January will be our demo day this year, and then early February will be the end of the program.
And how long are people typically staying after the 5 months?
So we offer the space for our entrepreneurs to support them after the program, and that is really dependent upon our space availability. So it's historically been, they can get pretty much another 6 months of space before our next program begins. If we introduce more cycles, that will shorten it a little bit, but we do have some partners that can help with space as well.
What's the one rule that you see that you can accept 10 people, 10
What's the one, sorry?
Hurdle.
Hurdle to 10?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just been quality. I think we want to make sure that we have 10 really good investments before we get that number. I'm confident that we're going to get there someday in terms of applicants, but we're very judicious about it, and we want to make sure we have some stringent criteria in place to make sure. We could easily get to 10, but I want to make sure that because we make investments in them on behalf of private individuals, we need to make sure that they're really good investments.
Just one question on the portfolio companies that you guys have thus far.
Yes.
So are they based mostly like the capital they raised? Is it based mostly regionally, or have they had to go outside of, I guess, the scope of the Cincinnati metro area in order to raise funds?
No, it's a really good question. I'll touch upon the 50,000. I'll touch upon it, and I'll answer your question. So we invest 50,000 as an entity here. That comes across as you get $20,000 as part of getting into the program. We do milestone-based funding, so we do 3 $10,000 milestones that are directly aligned with our curriculum. So that if you think about the way that I always tell it is that first milestone is kind of a little hurdle to jump over. The second milestone is a little bit bigger, and the final one is one that is more directly related to traction of your revenue / customers in our side. So the question you asked is it with our folks that are getting money after the program, can they get it regionally, or are they getting it outside? And the quickest answer to tell you is that money is getting harder and harder to get as an early stage company because more investors are moving downstream. So they want to see really good traction in order to even invest in you. So if you're looking at Kinetic, QCA, and others in our region who are making those seed investments, their watermark is much higher than it used to be in terms of the companies they're investing in. So it varies. It depends. Some of our companies have been able to raise locally because they were able to meet the criteria of those investors, and the type of business that they ran is one that those investors originally liked. So there's two aspects to that. It's like, do the regional investors like you? Do they like your team? Do they like the industry in which you're playing in? And is your traction in a really good place? I will always tell you, that's why I say, like, it's all about your team and your traction. If those two things are awesome, more investors are going to look at you and go, I have no reason not to give you money. And with a program like ours, because we often take companies at the earliest stage, their first investment, they've just launched their company in 5 months, it's really difficult to get to that stage. Not impossible. Because we have brought in companies at IDEA, we brought in some companies that are making $200K a year when they come into the program. So we will take companies at a lot of thresholds in terms of income, and then it will vary that answer, unfortunately. That said, we also have had some successes with past companies get into Techstars. So it's not out of the question that you would go through UpTech and then you may go get into another tier accelerator like Techstars that's going to be more growth oriented. So you're in a place where you have early product market fit and you're in a position to grow it. So you should maybe go look at another accelerator before you go raise your seed round. So again, it's going to vary. So we've had companies go through Techstars. We had one go through the Vatican's Accelerator in Rome. And then this past year, we had a company get into Quake Capital out in LA. So it's not unheard of that you may have to look at another accelerator, but it's not also unheard of that you get the capital you need. Like I report source down the alley was able to raise money locally in excess of $1 million. Make sense? So other benefits of the program is really the connection around the mentors. So we bring in a lot of mentors to meet everybody. Early on in the program, we do some speed mentoring where you're going to get inundated with a lot of people you're going to meet. And then it is the entrepreneur's job to basically recruit mentors to want to work with them. And vice versa. The mentor has to earn your trust and be someone you want to work with. I treat our mentorship program as organic as it is in real life. It is your job to recruit the best and brightest to your team. So you get the opportunity to meet these people, and then you seize on that and ask for them to work with you. It's not unheard of that we'd have mentors work with multiple startups in our program. It's not unheard of that you may meet with one mentor one time, or you may work with them every week. And it all depends, because the thing I learned in this business is that the personalities are so varied that you just can't effectively pair a company up with a mentor. Now, there's going to be different capacities of mentorship, right? Some are going to be coaches, some are going to be industry experts, some are going to be subject matter, are going to be technology experts who are going to be able to help you in different ways and at different times. So even if we don't get early pairing, my job is I'm always going to be there as a dedicated coach for every entrepreneur, so nobody really ever falls through the cracks. But it's also my job to make sure that I'm connecting people consistently throughout the program with the right people that I think they should be connected with as things change. Because what you come in with is not the same as the second month, third month, fourth month.
So this may be a silly question, but what is the mentor's kind of motivation to be here? Is it just they're volunteers and they're just interested, or are they potential investors? What kind of background and what are they looking for from startups?
So I'm speaking personally as a mentor myself. I do it because I like it. I have never gone into a mentorship relationship personally with money on my mind, ever. We ask every mentor, there's no financial compensation for what you do. You do this because you love it, and it's going to energize you. And that's why most people do it. And it's a great way for professional individuals to just get out of their mind of corporate world and just try to look at something differently. The best way to innovate is through diversity. So what's better than diversity of thought, people, and experience? And mentorship's a great way to get into that.
Yeah.
That's the majority of the driver behind it. We have had, Nancy Kors is on there, so she was a mentor. She started mentoring iReport Source, a company from UpTech 5, or 5th year. She came on and said, wow, this is really cool. I'd like to mentor you. Okay, I'd like to be on your advisory board with some equity compensation. And that was actually at the founder's request. The founders drive that conversation, not the mentors. Mentors might, but typically it's the founders. And then she also came on as a result of that as an investor. So she then invested in them, and now she's their COO. So if that mentor likes you and you like them, there is a reality that mentor relationship will develop into something you never expected. I think that's the exception to the rule, but that's not unheard of and not something that I frown upon. What I do frown upon is anybody who tries to sell to you. That's something I would make a big statement so you don't get sold to as a part of that experience. Because you will get sold to.
So for each mentor, I guess per cohort, are they on retainer where it's like every cohort has the same group of mentors, or do you guys hand select based on the applicants or I guess the accepted firms that you have?
We have a pool that we just keep open. Some people have said, I can't help this year, and so they just went dark last year, and they'll come back again this year. So it is cyclical in some ways. We're always bringing new folks in. Old people are always coming back. People we had last year might not necessarily, but they're always in our communication channel. So again, if I find somebody, if I think about you have a specific need, I say, oh, you need to talk to this person. I will make that direct introduction where possible if that individual can't make certain events. So they'll come to the grill outs, they'll go to the sessions. So there's a lot of cases and opportunities to interact with those individuals throughout the program. And if there is somebody that you would need, I will find them. So that's not something that I ever shy away from, that challenge. So the investable piece. This is our secret sauce a little bit. This is not shared with the public, and you won't be able to read it. At the end of the day, though, it's not rocket science. It's just experience. So it's taking the experience of me doing this for multiple cycles through multiple accelerators, talking to investors, researching a lot, and developing a set curriculum with set criteria for you to look at and say, oh, that makes me an investable company. That makes sense. Because the one thing I think most entrepreneurs don't know is they don't know what they don't know. So we make sure that this is a clear map that you can look at as an entrepreneur and say, oh, that's what I need to do. And that's when I need to do it. And this is everything from setting up your C Corp to what your pitch deck should look like. So it's from start to finish at that earliest stage when you're seeking capital. The space you're sitting in, pretty much 1/3 of the space, we'll be able to walk around and check it out. So it's kind of redundant. But we have a co-working space that is like that side of the house is the entrepreneur space. They have their own breakout rooms for phone calls, meetings with whiteboards. We have bigger meeting rooms here that are great. We've got a big office meeting room in the back. Is our garage, and it literally is a garage. So we'll pop it open for the grill out. And other thing about the space is it's 24/7 access. It's your space as entrepreneurs when you're here. Gigabit internet, so the highest speed you can get around here, and a great dedicated workspace for you for the time of that program and after, so that you're not having to move around all the time. Legal and accounting, it was interesting last year because most companies came in with legal and accounting already in their hand, which was awesome. I really loved that. We do have a pool of folks that are willing to help our startups at startup rates. So we have negotiated rates with these firms, both on the legal and accounting side, willing to work with our founders so that they're not breaking the bank. We have moved away from a pure pro bono model because we found that it just wasn't necessarily in the best interest of either party. We want to make sure that our founders understand that you need to pay for things, and you should be very judicious about what you should spend money on, because you need to learn how to do that as founders. But we also want to make sure that there's some sort of discount so you're not getting killed.
So if you already have like legal set up, it's okay?
It's okay. I'm happy if you have a great partner that you love and you trust them with your business. We are happy to continue that partnership, and we're happy to talk to them and see if they're willing to honor some of the rates that we have negotiated, or if theirs are better, then we can keep them the way they are. Part of the legal perspective is we have moved away from LLCs. We do want everybody to be a C Corp that comes in now. That's what all investors are going to want. Ideally, you're going to be a Delaware C Corp. It's going to be most advantageous for you as a startup founder from a taxation and a legal perspective to be a Delaware C Corp. There's some great services that we found that who offers it now. Is it, what's the online payment provider?
Not PayPal.
Not PayPal, what's the other one? Square has Square Atlas is a program that they've set up for founders to set up your C Corp in Delaware, a bank account with Silicon Valley Bank for like $500 or something. It's like super cheap. It's a great way to set up your C Corp through their program. I don't know if these guys love me saying that, but at the end of the day,
twice that much.
it's the startup world, and you gotta save money how you can. So that's one of the things we really look for. If you come in and you're not set up yet, that's fine. But we would have that as a part of. If you get into the program, you kind of get selected early July. The program doesn't start until September, so July, August is when we do that process to make sure things get set up and you're in a good place. Because we can't give you money until you have an entity set up.
Right.
Thompson Hine does a really nice job with that too. David Wilbrand.
Yes,
they
David
have a
Wilbrand.
package that you could buy the package and you come away at the end of that package for the whole setup.
Yeah, I think I know for us, Brown Todd does a night or fire something jumpstart program. Thompson Hine. These are all. I mean, we love working with Dave. Dave is.
I noticed he's one of your mentors. Yeah, I've worked with Dave.
Yeah, he's been working with a lot of our folks, but as I said, all these partners are great at what they do. So happy to pair you with who it makes sense. And I always advise people, make sure you talk to a couple different firms, see who you are comfortable with personally, because that's what matters.
Yeah, I think the Thompson Hine system makes a lot of sense because it's a very clearly defined package. You buy the package, you come away with a C Corp and a variety, the operating agreement, a few other things that are really critical to getting started, and they're all discounted. So their goal is to win you long term. When the money's rolling, they're part of that.
Oh, yeah. Another big aspect of this is the alumni aspect. So we have 47 companies currently in our portfolio. A little, I would say 26 are still operating of those 47. That's the reality of startups. But just because a company dissolves does not mean these people go away. A lot of them stay very active as alumni, coming in and speaking to our past folks. They're going to help make connections. They're going to help you avoid the pitfalls. So that alumni network is part of what we value, and that's part of your experience here. Is all about that cohort experience, where you are going to become very close with a lot of other founders. You can view that as a competitive space, but we really try and foster as you're in this together. We purposely don't pick competing companies for a cohort. We just don't want to have that exist within the walls of our house. So at the end of the day, you're helping each other with your marketing campaigns. You're helping each other with your business models and pricing. So that's the benefit of having you in this space full time, working together. So it varies all the time. Some people are here a lot more than others, and the ones that are here more get the most out of it from that experience.
How many has exited you? In the 28?
We've had 3 companies exit over the past 4 years. Nothing significant to the point where you'd be like, whoa, sweet money. We are counting on that, but it's one of those things where I think it's still too early for some of them. They're only 1-2 years old, and to truly get a meaningful exit, you're looking at typically 5 to 7 years at a minimum.
I had a question about the previous slide real quick. So as far as legal is concerned, for I'd say I guess the investors or VCs consider investing into you, do they see that as kind of like a deterrent in terms of like how you're set up? Like you said, like most people don't prefer.
They want to see corp.
Okay.
They will want to see corp.
Okay.
And actually, with the new tax laws, it'd be better to be a C corp nowadays than an LLC. Lower tax brackets. I'm not an accountant, so don't take that as.
So do you guys have a fund that funds this?
Private individuals, some institutional owners. Perks, I just put this slide together, so it's pretty bad. But at the end of the day, there are perks beyond what I'm talking about now. Like when you get a program, we negotiate a lot of things with HubSpot, Amazon, Google, so great discounts, credits actually. So HubSpot is I think it's a 90% discount on their service. Amazon, I think you get 5,000. Google Cloud, you might get 20,000. Obviously, that gig of internet, the optics. We provide snacks and drinks for you guys on the site, so it's always nice. And we have ping pong. Who wouldn't want ping pong?
Beer and coffee.
Beer and coffee, it's really all you need. So that's a nice little perk. And frankly, we do a lot of fun things. So I invite, part of the program is early on in the program, we have everyone out to my family farm in Adams County, Ohio. Spend a night out there by the campfire, get to know each other. So that's one of the things that's actually probably the most fun that people have is going and doing that. And it's a good way to get to know everybody really quickly. That's something that I really value. Our grill outs are something we always do. Every holiday we have something, so we do our team Thanksgiving. Everybody brings in pots like potluck Thanksgiving. We do a holiday party here where we have an evening with music and drinks and food, and we get it catered. So we try and make everything as fun as it can be. And truly, I think this is what matters in this experience, because these are the people that you work with day in and day out, and who will continue to support you as you go through your difficult journey of being an entrepreneur. Make no mistake, it's difficult. You're probably experiencing it already, but it's something that's difficult, and these are the folks that are going to help you. And then it gets culminated with this demo day. So this past year, early on they used to do it at NKU. We did 2 years at 8451 downtown in a corporate setting. And then this past year we brought it back to Covington at the Carnegie. And it was awesome. I mean, it was a theater setting. You're up on stage, lights on. It was everything I wanted. So we're probably going to continue to do it there. It was fantastic. We live stream it, we record it, that gets out to our website, that goes out to investors. It's a great event. I was the governor there last year, which was crazy. But it was a great event. Then we're all part of the Startup Cincy thing. We might be over in content, but the reality is we're a regional accelerator, we're a national accelerator, we're a global accelerator. UpTech 5, we brought in more international companies than we had companies from the US. So the competition is stiff, but we always know where our roots are, and that's fostering a regional entrepreneurship scene. So everything I do, everything our program's about, is really focused around, you might be going through our program, but this is your opportunity to really connect in this community, because your job is just to learn as much as you can and make as many connections as you can. I will be there to create opportunities, but it's the entrepreneur's job to close the door on those deals and make those connections and friendships and partnerships and everything in between. But this is a great resource, and our friends over at Centrifuge, other accelerators, they truly are our friends, and they're going to help you guys in any way you can. So I basically tell entrepreneurs, like, go to Union Hall at least one day a week. Like you become a Centrifuge member when you come through our program. You should go there at least one day a week, because that's a place where you will have collisions that you just won't have here. But this is a much better place to work, because you can actually get stuff done and people won't distract you. But that's a great place to network. So we love that about the community. It's a very lean staff. It's myself and Adam. We are very busy with what we do, but I think we do it well. Behind us is a great supporting board. We've actually just added 2 new members, so we now have we have 14, and then we got Cheryl, who helps from an admin perspective get things done. So we're always adding new folks, new blood into it, trying to continue to diversify as we can. But it's always a work in progress. And then a couple of key stories I told you before. One company got into Techstars. This is the Monetizer. This is a company from Latvia who came to the U.S. through UpTech. They are now in Atlanta because they went through Techstars, and they are currently raising $21 million. Something crazy like that. Great story, and I look forward to seeing more success out of these guys in the years to come. This is Josh from Paper speaking at the Vatican as part of their experience through their Accelerator program. And then our report sources continue to stay in Covington. They're just down the alley at the Ambition Network, running their business out of there. So those are 3 kind of key success stories from last year that I love to highlight. So what are we looking for? B2B startups, but we are not really any alignment. We don't have any vertical or horizontal alignment there yet, other than we do have a health tech track this year. This is not clinical applications of health technology, it's more of the business of healthcare. So helping them manage their patients more effectively when it comes to systems, operations. That's more we talk about from the health tech side. So St. Elizabeth is very interested in their patient experience, so we're looking for companies in that space to bring into our program. In addition, we're only looking for like 1 or 2 in the health space. The rest of our cohort is still relatively industry agnostic in how we make our selection. We're looking for early stages, kind of working prototype or close to it. We want to see some validation in place. We want to see that you've talked to customers, actually talked to customers, not just done surveys. But if you have an early prototype, that helps. If you have early customers, that will really help. Because if you think about all the pool of applicants that are coming in, consider yourself against someone else, those are things we weigh in that consideration if all things are equal. And we're looking for scalable businesses in large markets. It seems kind of self-explanatory, but at the end of the day, it's one in which we value. We don't want to see just kind of something that's small we're a small market in terms of number of customers. So make sure you're doing your research around your customers and the markets in which they're in. That will help set you apart again in the application process. From a founder side, founders are the number one thing we look for. We want to see people who know their industry, who are knowledgeable of the technology that they have. I want confident people who are coachable, who don't like arrogance. Through interviews, it's pretty easy to pick up on people that take feedback the wrong way. A lot of times I'll purposefully poke a little harder than I normally would. I'm a pretty non-confrontational, nice person, but I try to push a little bit and call your baby a little bit ugly, just to see how you respond. This is one that some people don't like, but the reality is that's how we invest. You gotta be full-time on this. We give you the amount of money so that you can make this your full-time commitment over that period of the program. I don't want second jobs.
On that issue, when it comes to the co-founder team, are you flexible as far as some co-founders being full-time, some being part-time?
Yes, that's a really good question. So we need at least one full-time individual, and it should be your CEO. If you're supporting cast, we will discuss who that individual is or individuals are and what their role is. Oftentimes I would say I want the whole team there because everyone's going to get the most out of it by being there the full time. And you will too. I've had CEOs deal with tech co-founders who aren't there, and then they're just scrambling and frustrated. And it doesn't work out well for either party in that case.
Our situation is the CEO and myself and the CTO are full-time, will be full-time. However, two of our developers are being very part-time.
That's not an issue. It's a good question.
What about physical location? So the three of us are all over the country. I'm here, local. I'm listening.
Yep.
CTOs in Alabama.
Not typically an issue, other than I know that you will get the best experience by having them all physically in one place, and you will work and operate better by having them here. So, Monetizer came from Latvia. The CEO came early. For a month, he was challenged with managing that. Now, he had already gotten the other two committed to come here, so when they arrived, they operated a lot more smoothly and better in this program and in the business. So, from a guidance perspective, I would coach you to say you should be co-located in those cases. It'll work out. We did have a company last year. He's got people all over the country working with him, and doing fine. It kind of depends on your success and what you've been able to achieve. So those are conversations I will have with you directly about it. I do want I want people to work here. That's the cohort aspect. You have to be here for events. So if we have speakers, we schedule out far enough so it gives you plenty of lead time, but if we have speakers coming in on an off day, not a Friday morning, we pretty much block off every Friday morning you're going to be here and we're going to be doing training, education. We might have some things in the evenings, like our mentoring sessions on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. You've got to be here. There's practice pitch sessions throughout the program where we bring in outside people to critique your pitch. You've got to be here for those. So those are communicated up front, but ideally you just say, I'm going to work out of UpTech. That's my goal. I will be there 100% of the time. I also said, I want you to go over to Union Hall, maybe work a day. If you just need a change of scenery, you want to interact with other people. But generally, we want you to be working here. So we won't, if a company applies from New York, they got to be here for 5 months. It's not, we're not going to commute then. You build your product. That means that as a CEO, you are not outsourcing your development work to a dev shop. It just does not work in the way that we want it to. Very key in the way we want it to. And it's also the way that investors want it to work. So that's part of why we have that. It's not, there are companies that work. You outsource the work and you get it done. It's just not something that investors want to see. They want to see a solid team at this stage of company. If you outsource some of that work, I have no issue with that. If your CTO better know the tech, or someone on your team better know that tech as good as those developers. And that's why we want to make sure that that's a piece of it. Market experience knowledge, if you come from industry, great. If you don't, you better know that market really well, and we don't want any jerks. That's a big thing. Everybody's here to, we're all here to support each other. We're not here to break anybody down. This is not a game of egos. So there's a participant agreement that I'll go through what it means when you sign the participant. And there's two things that you sign as part of getting the UpTech and getting the, there's a participant agreement, which is about our program. So we're a 501c3, that is our program. There's an agreement there, but we reserve the right to kick anybody out at any time. Been close a couple times. But don't break stuff, don't be a jerk. We give you stuff and you work hard in return. You remain engaged in your future. You can leave and we can kick you out. If you find no value, like, sure, you can leave. I have not seen anybody come close to that. As I said, we have been close to kicking some folks out. You have to have insurance. It's very cheap. We bring someone in right away to help you with insurance, liability insurance as a company. It's not expensive. It's like $100 a year or something. And we get to use you in pictures to promote you. But at the end of the day, we're here to promote you guys, but we get the right to, we take a lot of pictures, we promote you guys, we do a lot of blog posts about you. It's actually in your favor, so that's kind of a joke in terms of why I put it on there. That investment agreement, this is the one where it comes to the dollars, so we'll walk through a little bit the details of this. So it is a convertible note with a warrant to purchase common equity. Don't worry if you don't know what this stuff means. It's part of our program, but part of that is making sure that you have a lawyer who you can work with and walk you through some of this terminology. So when you're reviewing the documentation, again, if you don't have a lawyer, one will be pointed to you. But they'll know what to look for and how to explain it to you. If you have a lawyer who does not understand convertible notes, that would be a bad thing for you. I don't think you want to work with them. You need someone who knows how to work with startups.
So is that based on the $50,000?
Yep. So the $50,000 comes in actually four separate notes. 120,000, 110,000, 110,000, 110,000. Same term. Same terms. There's no difference. So collectively, it's the exact same terms. It's just the amount of the amount.
So is the valuation of the organization done at those different benchmarks as well?
We don't do any valuation. The verbal note allows us to punt the valuation conversation. We don't do any valuation. The only thing we do is put a $2.5 million cap on that. I'll explain that in a second. This is where things get a little more complicated. But part of that, you need to make sure that you have a cap table that's accurate and clear. So a cap table is just who owns what in your company. Ideally, it's founders. You might have some friends and family, whatever, but we need a clarity in that early on. We want you to be a C Corp, but you have to register as a foreign entity here in the state of Kentucky unless you're a Kentucky C Corp. It's a small piece of paperwork you file that just says you're doing business in the state of Kentucky, and you can have your corporation elsewhere. It's a taxation thing. You own the IP. If you're licensing some IP, that's okay, but we need to talk through that, what that looks like, if you are licensing some. We've had some people license some IP, but they didn't pay for it. It's another big deal. But we want to see value in what you're offering, and making sure that you have control and ownership over it, so you're not in a situation where you can be controlled. We do have a confidential agreement in there. It's more, I think, on our side, not yours. And you can't have company or personal legal battles going on. That's part of our due diligence. We make sure that you don't personally have any warrants for your arrest. Okay, that looks really bad. We did have one person get into our program, and we found out like 4 months later about a past felony, and it was like, what was that? Please tell me up front. Some people have told me they've had misdemeanors up front, and it's not a big deal at all. But when I found out without knowing it was not cool.
So, JB, real quickly on that last slide, you mentioned taxes. So, do you guys have any kind of a tax situation that you've struck with the state of Kentucky?
So, no. There is no special tax agreement for Kentucky startups.
So Kentucky's tax of corporations 6.2%, is that right?
I actually do not know what their corporate tax is. Yeah, it's a good question though. Another thing, piece of that is we want to minimize personal debt, company debt. We don't want to see a lot of that because that would be a bad sign for us. Generally, there's an agreement to transparency and communicate regularly, and that's one thing we ask is that throughout the program, after the program, you provide monthly reporting to us. Obviously, if I'm having weekly meetings with you, I'm going to know what's going on. But regardless of how many times I say it, our alumni fail to sometimes give those reports back. So it's one of those things I push early and often. But it's just something you have to look at and say, oh yeah, that's pretty minimal amount of time and effort for $50,000 and all the guidance and support they do. And then you do need to file your taxes on time. I don't know, because since we moved to convertible notes, I don't know in terms of what you provide to our fund and what you have to. That's something we'll need to discuss later. But through that, you just have to file your taxes and we need to know what's gone through it. Before we did equity investments, so K1s were getting pushed off to our investors, and that's just a nightmare to do. We don't have to deal with K1s with convertible notes, so it might be an issue. So in terms of the investment, it's up to $50,000. We reserve the right to not give you that money at any point. You do not get guaranteed $50,000 as a result of getting into the program. You will get 20 as a result of starting the program. The additional ones are all milestone based, but they're still at our discretion based upon performance and your attendance and actions and all that fun stuff.
These milestones are based on each individual company and the goal for where they should be at 5 months.
Yes, so there are common pieces of continuity or consistency with the milestones across companies, but there are variable ones depending upon the state of the company. But the startups that set their milestones, I don't. In those cases, those custom ones end up being, I say, what do you think it should be? Now I will push back, but I put it on you to be owning your milestones, because that's part of the point of the milestones, is that you're going to have milestones well beyond this program. And you need to be smart enough and educated enough to know what those should be when it comes to funding, because that's what you're going to be doing, and it comes to milestones around customer development, business development. There's an 8% per annum interest rate on that, so convertible note essentially is debt until it's not. It's the easiest way to look at it. It's a loan until we decide, oh, you're doing really well, we'll convert it. 2-year maturity, so 2 years from taking that's when we would call the note if things aren't really looking good. It is as a C Corp, you individually are protected in that case, as long as you're not negligent. So at the end of the day, we have had many companies, and just to give you one example, or example of a company that doesn't do well and they don't have any money, the fund is not in the business of going after your entity or individual for that cash. Usually it's a write-off, and we'll just close that entity, and that'll be that. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is it doesn't matter, and we convert to equity. So keep it in mind, we understand the risks in this. You should as well. The risks to you are you just got to go and push hard and build a good business. $2.5 million cap. What that means for you from an equity perspective, people always ask the question is how much equity we take. It depends. It depends upon your valuation at that price round. So if you are able to get a valuation of $2.5 million or higher, your valuation in our stake will be $2.5 million. So even if you get a valuation of $5 million, we get to get our equity at a $2.5 million valuation. So that turns $50,000 into 2% equity. So I was that's the lowest amount of equity that we would get in your company. The range that I would always see is that in the Midwest, you're going to see valuations of anywhere $1.5 to $2 million for companies. So you're going to see 4 to 5% is what we end up getting. Make sense? That's not much. That's one of the better deals out there when it comes to accelerators. A lot will ask for 5 or 6 flat, even for less money. There's a 20% discount on that warrant, and we do have exit clauses. If you exit early, there's a certain amount of money that you can buy back into the payback to the fund. Still working on the numbers behind that. Typically, a 2x is the number in that exit clause, but maybe higher. We have finalized that one. Ideally, what that would say is like if you get acquired in 1 year and your company sells for $500,000, well, you need to give us the 50 plus another 50 and a 2x exit clause. That's the way that works. And then there are participation rights. That's actually a good thing for you, but it gives us first right of refusal if we want to invest in a follow-on round. You do need to, part of the agreement is that you have to give us the right to participate. Applications are due June 17th. Apply earlier so I can read your application and then set up meetings with you. In the past, I have scheduled meetings with people before they apply. I'm not doing that this year. So if you want to have a one-on-one, apply, because then I can give feedback and see if you're the right fit and if it makes sense to have a further conversation. And then in terms of timeline, the way it works is by the end of, I think mid-end of June, our finalists are chosen, and then we do all of our communication to the folks in early July of their selection into the program or their rejection in the program. It's a very competitive pool. Consider a one-on-one conversation if we're interested. I try my best to make sure I keep up communication and transparency of where we are in the process all throughout that. You know, if you, based on these dates, you'll hear from me. So please don't send too many emails. Hey, where are we with this? I will keep in touch with people and happy to keep that going. So, what else? That's my spiel when it comes to slides. What other questions do you guys have that I didn't cover in all of this?
You had mentioned that at least one of the co-founders has to be full-time. Is that prior to the application or during the accelerator?
During the program. Okay. So if you said contingent upon getting into the program, these individuals will be full-time, that's fine.
Can the enterprise still earn revenue while in the program? So as an example, you have a prototype of what you're working on, and you work on it, and you get accepted into the program. Would you still be allowed to make money?
Oh yeah. I'm happy to have you making money.
All because of that.
So I mean, to elaborate on that, it's a good question, because it's saying like I came in with a product and I'm making money on it or a service. Can I keep doing that? I want you to keep doing that, because that means that you have money that you can use to put toward the business. So the more money you have, the better. So when I think about the evolution of what happens during the program, if you're running, every B2B business is going to have some level of service to it. If you're 100% services right now, that may shift and ideally shift to a product by the end of the program. So our goal is to get you in a place where we can productize that service, automate more and more of what you're offering so that that can scale effectively. And part of that, again, may be that you have a service wing of your revenue stream is a professional services piece, and that's not a problem for us. And that's a real reality that's going to exist. If you're making your own money, great.
The money, is there limits on, or like conditions on what it's spent on?
No, not really. Again, part of the program, and part of that means you need to know how to spend your own money wisely. Now, yeah, you look at your financials. So if you're paying yourself a crazy salary, like that's not reasonable. So we kind of set those guidances up front. But yeah, it's really up to you to spend the money how you need to.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about like you reserve the right to kick people off early. So in the case that like say a startup pretty much came in with a lot of the essentials that they needed to scale and scale effectively. Would it be, I guess, a bad look, I guess, to you guys if they were leaving early because they're like, we got what we needed, and then we moved on, like, got partners that, essentially, like, it's like flexible in terms of like the things that they need from UpTech.
They can't, so I would argue that would be amazing if someone was really that good. I would actually be happy if they didn't need things. I can almost tell you no one's going to experience that way. And if they do, they're oblivious to what's going on. And that's from experience. I think you're always going to be getting a lot of value out of the program, and I don't think anybody's going to leave. But part of participation is you do need to pitch at a demo day. So there are things that you have to be here to participate in. So like the pitch practices, be here for demo day. So like, no one's really going to leave. I'd be surprised.
What if you're not interested in the money just to go through the program?
If you have no interest in the money, is that what you asked?
Yeah.
We actually have had people do that. And we have unique situations for that. If people don't need the money and they just want everything else, we have worked with companies before. And it really is dependent upon the stage of the company and where things are, so we always kind of vary on that. It is a good question. We have done it before. If there are no other quick questions, I have Rico Grant here to talk a little bit about. Yeah. But I'm going to bring Mark in here too.
All right, cool.
Come sit here.
Cool. How's everybody doing?
So Rico went through his past years, and Mark did as well. You know, I'm going to only take 5 minutes of your time.
Cool.
Thank you for doing stuff by you here after.
Okay. This is my list.
So nice of you guys participated this last year. I wanted to give at least an alumni perspective on kind of why did they choose to go through an accelerator. I think it'd be good to talk about what did they get out of the program that they might not have expected. I think it's probably a good place to start. And maybe there's another question we can have into. What's the first?
Sure.
So the reason we got in first is
Why did you even entertain the idea of going through an accelerator? Because I think that's a good question for anybody. So whether they decide to go through UpTech or they want to apply to another program, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
You got to go where it's right for you.
So the accelerator thing for me was 3 or 4 fold, all of which that JB had mentioned. The money was critical to us. I just heard someone asking if we don't need money, but the money was important to us. The education component was just huge. Trying to learn how to be a CEO, how to learn how to build a startup. I think until you sit through a session with JB where he asks you what your day is, and I don't think you know that lesson until you kind of go through that, unless you've already done another business before. The third was the mentorship program that he mentioned. I was, for the most part, a single founder. I had so many different mentors, and being really aware of the type of mentorship you're trying to get, whether it's help with your financials, help with tech, whatever it is. And then the fourth piece of why I wanted to get in that I didn't even know about it until I got in was the guy that I just hugged when I came into it. This is really hard, and going through it with a group of people and learning from them as you go. There's so many different opportunities, things like lunch and learns and things that we do as a group. To me, it was just the full package. So that was the reason I wanted to do it, but there's some things that
Yeah, so as a first-time entrepreneur, I had spent 10 years in corporate America, and I knew that I needed some help, right? So prior to getting into UpTech, my time was spent because I didn't have money to do so. So a part of it was that, right, and getting one, I knew that this program was going to be right for us, specifically this program, because my initial conversations with JB, I mean, he literally just blew holes in my theories, right, and it made me a better founder. And I knew I wanted to work with a managing director and a group of individuals like that, someone who would challenge me and not just accept our company for what it is, which could have happened because we have Crown Mob is very, it's not typical tech company. We built a marketplace specifically designed for black hair and skin care, right? And most investors and most managing directors, they don't know anything about that market, right? So it was really awesome to work with a program that took the time to learn the market so that they could help me. The money definitely was helpful. Obviously, I was able to bring more tech talent because I don't have a tech background, so it enabled me to be able to do that. And then I would piggyback on what Mark said in regards to just the community itself. We were a very tight-knit group and did a lot of things together. And there are some moments, especially early in your company, where you just dragging. You just don't feel well. It's tough. It's hard, and you need to be able to lean over and in a weird way, see someone else going through the same thing, so that you guys can sort of coexist with one another and figure it out. So I think those are the main reasons why we applied to a program and accepted our offer for a program. And I think all of those things set us up on a platform that, I don't know if we'd be where we are without those tangible things. So. What was the second part of the question?
What surprised you in the program that you didn't expect?
It was, I want to make sure I describe this right. My feeling as I was going through this is a whole heck of a lot harder than I thought it was going to be hard, and it was even harder than I thought it was going to be. There is a kind of a concept that I still am living by in terms of in this world, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think we did our first pitch probably like in week 1 or week 2.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it was, just from the beginning, it's very difficult. But it trains you, I think, to have that discipline, activity, saying earlier, that you are over them. So I think that was even a little bit more surprising than
Yeah, I think for me, I knew it was going to be tough, but I was mentally prepared for that. I think for me, what I got out of it that I didn't know, what I didn't expect, was the fact that I would get slapped on the weekends. Hey, how are you? What are you doing? And I think I was more so thrown off by the fact that it wasn't all business. I think our very first conversation that we had, we sat down all together, all the companies together, and everybody involved with UpTech, was this aspect of just life, right? A part of our Friday meetings was discussing things that were going well and things that were not going well, and 90% of those things had nothing to do with our companies. It was just like, I didn't get much sleep this week, or my child is sick, right? And so that we can look out for one another. So I really wasn't expecting the family aspect of things. It was definitely an added benefit, but I would be weary of any program that does not set that tone out the gate, because when you're building a company, specifically an accelerator program, you got all these eyes on you. The results are expected, and it's very hard to accomplish those results when it's just all business. It can't be that way. So I think that's what I got out of it, that was completely unexpected, threw me off guard, and I ended up embracing it, obviously, and there was an added benefit. Something that does not show up on the website, the paperwork.
We got about 5 minutes till the grill out. You guys have any other things you want to ask these guys?
The real stuff.
If not, they're going to be around for the grill out, so you can talk to them one-on-one and not in a group setting where I'm not here. Any other questions? Thank you guys. Give a little round of applause for you. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the information session. Grill out is in the garage, so down this hallway out back, we'll be part of the grill and have some drinks.
Accelerator.